So, Warwick, there's a knock at the door.
Come
and
in.
you open it, and there is a guy there that has a piercing through his tongue and tats on his face. And he's standing there and going, I'm here to pick up Gracie, your now 16-year-old daughter. First boy to come to the house. What do you do?
I wondered where that was going. I thought he was either here to collect money or proposition me.
No, so I'm just preparing you because, I mean, you've got, well, she's, 4, but you need to prepare for these things as a first-time father with a girl. So she's just turned 16 and this guy's turned up at the door.
I reckon I'm going to need at least the next 12 years to get prepared for
this.
this.
I'm preparing you.
Yep. She's not here. She's locked in the basement, so bugger off. You know what? I'm going to be all zen and kind of spiritual and stuff here and say that I would let Gracie choose to go out with whoever she wants because I know that I'll have raised her, well, her mum would have raised her to make good choices about who she hangs out with.
So would you let her date the 16-year-old version of you?
Yeah, because I was actually a really nice guy. You didn't see that coming, did you? Just because I got tats and a tongue piercing now doesn't actually make me a bad guy when I was 16. But no, I'm really looking forward to watching Grace make great choices based on her really good self-esteem and self-worth.
Yeah, you just tell yourself that.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show, helping you get off the tools and into true business ownership, so you can spend more time doing the things that matter most. Now, here are your hosts, Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark.
So welcome to another episode of the Tradies Business Show. I'm Michaela, who's not 16.
G'day, listeners, and I'm the dad who is probably freaking out at this point and seriously thinking about getting a rocking chair and a shotgun.
So now, firstly, we've got to cover our Tradies Business Toolkit.
Yes.
We always talk about it at the end of the show.
The fancy name for our membership site, that if you're listening to this show, you owe it to yourself to go and join up. Seriously, was that a good enough
Well
preach?
done. Keep going.
Okay.
Yep.
It's $1. Come on, it's $1. When was the last time you bought anything of value for $1? Maybe when you were 16. But $1 gets you the first 30 days of full access, so it's not one of these crappy trial membership things where you get, oh, this is exclusive content. You get access to everything for $1. So in reality, you could join up for $1, download everything, and then bugger off. But we know you won't, because we're going to be adding new content in there. You get access to the private Facebook group where you can chat to Michaela and myself on a daily basis, along with the other members, and chat to some other tradies from around the country about your issues or your ideas. There'll be webinars, video training, templates, bonus footage and extended interviews with some of our guests, sharing some inside secrets to how you can really get things rocking in your tradie business. So after your first 30 days, it's just $10 a month if you join before June 30. And after that, the price goes up.
So we'll go to...
Oh, yeah, there's a website.
tradiesbusinesstoolkit.com, and you
Professional
can...
outfit.
Yes, sign up there and give us your $1 and go steal everything and, yeah.
No, don't tell them to do that. Stick around and get amazing value. And this will be the third episode I've said it, is if you don't get value from your $10 a month, send me a personal message and I'll personally deliver you a carton of beer.
Oh, well, let's see.
There you go.
I'm not paying for that, by the way. You can pay
that's
for
coming
all
out of partnership funds, is it?
And I've just had a good idea. I reckon in our private Facebook community for our members that you guys can also let us know what questions you'd like us to ask each other. Because I think I'm quite good at coming up with the questions for Warwick. He needs help. So
yeah, please help me out. I'm dying here. Give me some good stuff I can ask Michaela. Some things that you really want to know about Michaela Clark from Tradies VA and the Tradies Business Show.
I'm sure they're all dying to know lots. But today we are talking accountants don't fall asleep.
Oh,
Stop,
sorry. I was
wake up.
just nodded off.
If you want to make more money, you should listen today.
Yes, please.
Okay, got your attention now. So we talked to Ben Walker from InspireCA, which is he's doing things a little bit differently in the entrepreneurial business space, and I think there's a lot that he can teach tradies on how they run their books and their business. So there's a lot to take away in today's episode, and of course there is an extended interview as well at the end for our members only.
And when you told me we were going to interview an accountant for the show, I have to say I was a little bit like, I'm married to an accountant, and I studied as an accountant many, many years ago, so I've hung out with a few of them. Are you sure this is good for our listeners? And then you said...
There's beer there.
He has a bar and a cafe, coffee and alcohol. I was like, righto, what's the address?
That's it. So very excited. I actually never thought I'd be excited to come to an accountant's before, Warwick, but I am today because I'm sitting in the accountant's boardroom looking at a bar.
There's taps.
There is.
There's beer on tap. Seriously.
Yeah, so we're at InspireCA in Brisbane today with Ben Walker. He's, I love your title, the Chief Inspirational Officer. So really doing some stuff differently here. Has a great co-working space and a cafe for meetings and also a bar, and does a lot of networking events. Some really cool stuff going on here. So I'm really excited about talking to you today, Ben.
Thank you.
Now, you do things differently, as I mentioned. So tell us a little bit about, how your journey came to looking at this and why your business is really taking on that entrepreneurial spirit in the accountancy world.
Yeah, okay. So, thanks again, both of you, for having me on the show. And a bit about my background. So I started at a Big Four accounting firm. I got pretty sick of it, being a number in a big machine, pretty much, after a few years, and then I moved out to a suburban accounting firm, and that's where I really saw the difference that accountants can have on our business owners and their lives and their families, and that's something I guess when I thought of taking the step to set up my own business, that something I really loved is having that impact. And the reason why I started the firm is because I saw a bit of a gap in the market. There's not many accountants at all who are sort of providing that insight into the numbers, sharing with business owners how to actually break down their financials and make it easy. It's something that I think is too often in the too hard basket, or there's denial around the numbers, and businesses run off the bank balance as a way of accounting versus putting some good numbers around it. So that's a bit of background about why. The cafe and bar, that was a bit of a strange suggestion at the time from a mentor, Paul Dunn, and he sort of threw it out to me when I was looking for new offices because we'd grown fairly quickly. And I said, "Oh, Paul, what do you think of these couple of options?" And they were standard, typical offices, or just boring sort of. Yeah. The same old. And he said, "Oh, Ben, why don't you put a cafe in?" And before long, I sort of thought to myself, well, that's a great idea, but you can't just put a cafe in. You've got to have a liquor license. You've got to have beer on tap and all sorts.
If you're going to do it, you've got to do it properly.
Absolutely. But I actually think the audience might relate here. By the time you want to serve sandwiches, you've got to go nothing or all out. And really, there was not much difference at the end of it.
So there you go. Well, I know where I'll be doing my meetings next time I'm in this part of town, Ben. So.
Yeah, so it's good to, have an accountant that actually makes the numbers a little bit fun and have a drink while you're looking over them. So I know you have a lot of tradies as clients. So what do you see as some of the common areas that they need to focus on a bit more in their business when it comes to numbers and things?
Yeah, when it comes to numbers, I think it depends on how long you've been running your business, but the things I see that are done really well are if there's someone either external or even internal, but someone who's sole focus, or one of the very few responsibilities is keeping the bookkeeping going, making sure those numbers are right up to date, rather than waiting 90 days or every quarter for the BAS. And again, I do recognise that there is a gap in the market. People aren't helping business owners understand the numbers. But taking those numbers every couple of weeks or every month and actually having a look through them. I think the businesses, the clients of mine who do that are the ones who get engaged with the growth of it and actually get a better result at the end.
Because it is something, and I like that word, getting engaged with your accounting. It's probably not something that a lot of tradies think is a very exciting concept. And I know a lot of my clients over the years probably get sick of me banging on about their numbers, but really the language of business is accounting, and you don't have to be an accountant to be able to understand it, do you, Ben? Like, there's just some simple things that you need to look at. What are some of the basics for our listeners that they really should be doing, or some of the things, I guess, that you see successful clients have done around that accounting stuff that's really helped them run their business better?
Yeah, I think it starts with measuring the right numbers. So, you can always look at what's going in and out of the bank account, but if you're not measuring things like your conversion rate from every quote or proposal or whatever you're putting out there, how many of them are actually being accepted, and having numbers like that to be able to work out what quotes or proposals are working and what's not, because once you've got that history, then you can make small changes in the business and see what the result is.
And the other thing is too, being able to forecast, which is something that I think is hardly ever done in this industry, but be able to actually plan and have money in the bank going forward.
It's probably one of the criticisms of, I guess, accountants in general, is that backwards view of what's happened, and by the time you sit down with your financials, and this is again a challenge that I see with a lot of trade businesses, is that when they look at their financials, is kind of the year's already it's taken place. It's too late to do anything about it. So there's none of those leading indicators that they're looking at. And it sounds like that's what you're helping your clients with, Ben.
Absolutely, and I think it's a must. And it is a maybe a 12-month process from that we take clients through just to get those systems in place to be able to measure those numbers, and I guess the reasons why as well, that's so important. It's the result of it, and the at the end of it, I've had people say that it isn't actually that hard, and that they simple concepts like when you're pricing a job, don't just mark up your labour and mark up your materials. Start with what the value is to the customer, and then work out is that job profitable. You don't want to do something for $100 that takes you a week, just because your percentages say it should be $100. So that's the sort of thing, mindset shifts that I love helping out clients through.
Yeah, and so you go through a bit of a process with the clients that you work with. So step it through your methodology as far as that goes.
Yeah, so as I said, that first sort of step is really understanding and making it easy things like the profit and loss and the balance sheet, and taking the focus away from the bank balance. The scary thing about relying on your bank balance is, every quarter you've got GST, you pay as you go from your salaries, and even superannuation. If you're running off your bank balance, all of a sudden you could lose 20 grand that's due. I guess the purpose of having some numbers in place and keeping that right up to date means that you are aware in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days time what's coming up, and being able to plan for that. The second one is touching on cash flow, and there's so many little things you can do in the business, whether that's with your customers, your suppliers, even with your equipment and tools and materials that you've got in stock. How do you manage that better so that cash flow isn't such a drain on your business? And once we've sorted out that, then we move to the insight into the numbers. So tracking. Really tracking those lead indicators, even tracking numbers that matter more to your customer than they do to yourself. Like, for instance, one of the numbers that a roofing client of mine is tracking is the time it takes from when the job starts to when the job finishes and the product's delivered. Roofing holds up the rest of the construction, so if that's on, then there's no more delays. That's what matters to the builders. So shouldn't we track that versus labour percentages and useless things like that, when value to the customer is the turnaround?
That's really great.
So it's not about tracking the same numbers for everybody necessarily.
No.
And I think that's where a lot of people probably get a bit bamboozled, is they think they need to be measuring everything all the time, but there are some specific things that will have a bigger impact for that particular business.
That's correct, yeah. And usually, in all cases, it should be something that matters to the customer. if your customer's fine, if you get a reputation for serving your customer in a way that no one else does, then the discussion is not on price, it's on, when and where. It's, that's your point of difference.
That's right. So are there some common mistakes that you see, perhaps with new clients coming in, and we're not asking you to rag on the other accountants out there, but obviously you guys do it better than anybody else. Are there some common mistakes that you see people make, Ben?
There's a couple of, they're not, and the thing is, they're not uncommon. It's more common for these things to be as they are than, people to have their books in order. But a couple of mistakes are not having, good systems in place to be able to make bookkeeping easy. It's so simple.
So shoe boxes with your receipts are no good
shopping
anymore.
bags.
The dashboard of the year.
Do you still get that?
Sun faded?
Yeah.
Do you still get shopping bags and shoe boxes, mate?
When they come and see us.
Do you charge extra for that?
A shoebox surcharge?
Charge or refuse, one or the other. But yeah, so shoeboxes, no, that's not a way to run a business. Having systems in place like, there's apps on your phone you can get that take photos, and there's, they do the data entry for you.
Yep.
Just using those systems to make it easy, and it could cost $50 a month for that sort of subscription, depending on what software you use. But the time it saves, the flow-on effect from that, the up-to-date numbers that you've got are much more valuable than that $50.
Yeah.
So up-to-date numbers. Other things are, I find, and it's not limited to trades, it's pretty much any business. And it's a story from the E-Myth, which is a book from, 90s, 80s, 70s, a few decades ago. And it talks about, when you're starting a business, you're great at what you do as a technician, but not necessarily the skills to run a business yet. And even I'm in that boat. I didn't realise exactly what it took to run a business, and I'm still learning along the way. But I think as business owners, and a lot of tradies are sensational at what they do, but they're sort of lacking the business skills if they don't focus on them at all. So developing that, the sales skills, the marketing skills is a must. Yeah.
And do you recommend your clients sort of working with mentors and coaches and people like yourself to really get that accountability and help them strategise and things like that when they don't have those business skills necessarily?
Yeah, that I see is the only choice. I've got a couple of coaches myself and a few mentors really, and they have mentors and coaches, and it's just one of those things where I see that to be successful at anything, you've got to look outside your own skill sets, and either partner with people who can look after that for you, or learn it through someone else who's been there and done that.
Yeah. And so, just on that, obviously it's a subject after my own heart as a coach and a mentor, but how would you say that's returned for you as far as, obviously you've invested financial resources and time into your working with your coaches and mentors. How has that impacted your business? I look around at InspireCA here where we're sitting, and I don't know, mate, you don't look a day over 23, but you've achieved a fair bit in your time. What's been the impact for you personally as well?
I definitely think the accountability. The other thing is a few mentors have believed in me more than I've believed in myself, to the point where I have done things like set up a cafe, completely unaware of the depths of it all, and through that process I've become such a better business person, and sort of throwing myself in the deep end on really strange and at the time recommendations, but so much has come from a small decision like that. All sorts of lessons, and even the build itself. You talk to people who've built a house or whatever, or even done any form of construction who aren't in the industries.
Yeah.
And usually it's a nightmare, and I certainly learned along the way. Quite a few character building lessons.
I like that. Character building experiences.
But it's a really good point here that I heard about you and remembered you because of the cafe.
Yeah.
Because I heard Paul Dunn speak and mention, there's this accountant, he has a cafe and a bar, like how cool is that? He's standing out, he's being different. And that's how I've remembered you from years ago. So it's just really interesting to just look at different things that you can do in your business to stand out from your competitors. And that could be anything from your sales process to your customer service and turning up on time or ringing customers.
So you're trying to tell our listeners, Michaela, that although we're sitting here interviewing an accountant, there's like a double lesson in here in
we're getting deep in meaning from
uniqueness
today.
and the whole USP thing, and standing out from the crowd.
That's it. So there's a whole marketing position.
Twice as much value in today's episode.
2 for 1. What more can you ask for?
What about simply following up a quote or a proposal? Is that?
No. What?
So that's not really happening? I mean, what's your view on tradies in general? And we tend to ask this. We've been around and spoken to some members of the public and put some of those episodes to air. But what's your experience with tradies, Ben? And what's some of your advice from your side of the fence?
Yeah, and this doesn't necessarily relate to numbers, but I guess reliability is the first word that comes to mind. If you're reliable and you can sort of do what you say you can do, and I actually made a few notes before the show, that's the biggest thing. You know, focus on what matters to your customer and do what you say you can do. So if you're going to show up at 10, show up at 10 and not, midnight. I mean, small things like that matter a lot to, and will stand out. Like, for instance, Telstra, when they're coming to install something like a phone line or Foxtel, they'll give you a range of, I'll be there between 4:30 in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you have no idea. You've got to take a day off work.
Yeah.
Versus, I'll be there at 10:05. Wouldn't that be sensational?
Yeah, and like we do talk about it all the time, and sometimes we think, we just bang on about it so much, but nearly every person we ask for, it's two things. It's answer your phone, or it's, be reliable and be on time. Or even turn up, so many of them are no-shows, and then they say to you, I don't know why I'm not getting business while the business isn't growing. You're like, we don't even ring your quotes up, and follow up. Like, how many tradies do you know that actually follow up every quote that they do? They spend time going out, measuring, getting the lead, and then just don't do that follow-up. So it is the simple things.
So that's the opportunity, listeners, is as you're sitting there listening to this episode, if you're not doing those things, you can really set yourself apart from the competition, literally just by doing some of those simple things, and they don't cost any money, so you've just got some free advice. I don't know what Ben charges by the hour, but I suspect you've got to pay for that beer somehow, mate. But yeah, those simple things, and I mean, even for your business, Ben, just looking at the way you've set this thing up, it's pretty simple stuff. So Ben, what are some of the other things that you guys do differently here at InspireCA?
Yeah, so touching on the whole hourly rate thing we mentioned earlier, one of the things we don't do is charge by the hour, and we don't even keep timesheets for our team members and the people doing work on the jobs. The numbers we measure instead are what we call velocity, or from when a job comes in to when a job gets delivered, and we try to keep that under 10 days, 10 business days, versus typical accounting firm 3 months, 6 months if you're lucky.
Yeah.
It's just shocking. So that's something that we focus on internally, and that we believe drives value to the customer. And the hourly rate's something that I'm a little bit passive aggressive, passionate about, but even my own experience with taking trades, for instance. In the cafe here, a few months ago I had a problem with one of the lights, and there's a good couple of dozen lights upstairs, and there was something tripping, and not sure whether I'm using the exact correct language, but there was a call out fee for the electrician. He got here at about 8 o'clock in the morning. Said, it mustn't be anything big, and I thought, great, he's only going to be here for half an hour. And then he heads upstairs and sort of takes out one light at a time, looks at it, tests it, and then puts it back out. It's not that one, and I'm like, here we go.
Yep.
And so every 5-10 minutes I'm walking past the guy, just looking at my watch, going, hope he finds it soon. And all I'm worried about is fix it, get out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long it's taking. Not even whether the job's done properly or not. It's like, you're taking too long, costing me more money.
Exactly right. Which all I want is that problem fixed, and if that's the business model of the electricians, I'm sort of trapped by it, for lack of a better word. Versus, what if they sent out the next technician who found that light the first time, and they were only there for 15 minutes. And that's where, even if it did cost me the equivalent of what could be 3 hours, and it took 15 minutes, if it was fixed and there was that certainty, that wouldn't be anywhere. Like, I don't feel like I'd be ripped off. Versus, hours and hours.
It's just the seeds of doubt, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, am I getting charged what I should be here, or could this have been done quicker?
That's right. Yeah.
And it's like that pricing based on result. You want a fan installed, you want to know how much that is. And they say there's a call-out fee and how much time. It's not the way really going forward. I think the trade industry needs to price and really needs to open up to fixed pricing. And every tradie I know that's done it is well ahead than what they were charging hourly. And it also helps with other things like being able to not have you always have to quote or give that information. Your staff can book in jobs, your staff can price, your staff can invoice. All that extra stuff that SSA want to do can easily be done if you work off more fixed pricing models.
And so, sorry Ben, from your point of view in the accounting business, do you find your clients then are more likely to access your advice and therefore they get better results and better value from that fixed fee anyway?
Absolutely. So, archaic accounting firm will, charge every 6 minutes for phone calls, emails and the works. But what that discourages customers to do is, actually seek that advice. But when it's sort of packaged up in a fixed fee, then, there's no issues ringing and asking the question, because often that 5 minutes on the phone or that 15 minutes just having a chat can avoid a big issue down the track for both the accountant and the client themselves. It can save thousands, but if they're disincentivised to ask the advice, then and that's why we don't charge for the relationship. It's all part of the way we work with you.
That's great.
It'd be kind of like going to the GP and they charge by the 6 minute blocks. Like, okay, I got this lump, but I don't want to pay any more money, so let's just not worry about it today. Imagine the impact on people's healthcare.
Absolutely,
if that was the case. So, g'day to all the GPs out there.
Yeah. So, and another thing you've touched on is before apps and things that are making it heaps easier for clients to keep their financials in order, and things like cloud accounting programs and Xero's really changed the way accountants can now work with their businesses. And I know a lot of the trades being out in the field really find it beneficial to invoice on the road and take payments and things like that. So what do you see the main benefits of the cloud technology for these types of industries?
Yeah, I guess actually one biggie on the fixed pricing is that you can actually invoice and receive money before you even start the job, which is a big plus for cash flow. And it's even reinforced by cloud accounting, where you could quote, invoice, receive money all on the run. So I think one of the biggest advantages for that is definitely cash flow and instantaneous. There's no mucking around. There's less admin. There's less mucking about. So it's just a much simpler way of running your business. Yeah,
one thing I know my clients love is when so they're using Xero, for example, and they can send out an invoice. They can see if it's been opened.
Absolutely.
And they love that, because if they say, I never got it, well, you know what, you kind of did because you opened it,
Someone clicked on it.
And then all of a sudden there's payment in the account the next day. But they love that tracking of being able to see. I'm not just randomly calling people to see have they got my paper bill. They can, they've emailed it. People open those invoices as soon as they get them.
Actually, one thing I've seen that was really cool, and it's kind of like a gotcha sort of thing, is where I've actually been on the receiving end. Someone sent an invoice from Xero and has just not attached the PDF. and has said, "Oh, your invoice is in this link."
Yeah.
So there's no way telling how much it is, how to pay it. It's just there. You've got to click the link to see it.
Yeah.
And so what else are you going to do?
I do that. I don't include the PDF. I only send the link.
Yeah.
I like to
have
cyber
to
store.
tell you that I've clicked the link, basically.
Yeah, because you have the option of attaching a PDF copy or the link, and I only ever send the link.
I mean, I guess, from my perspective, I think it's a bit sad that we have to do those things because, some of us old school blokes probably wish that some of the values were still there like that. But the reality is the business landscape has changed, and if we want to run a successful tradie business, we've got to find ways to actually look after our cash flow and make sure we get paid. So there are some tools out there, which I think is the big point there, is there's some things you need to find out about. And obviously working with someone like you, Ben, is goes a long way to that, because you're going to be able to give people advice on that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really outside of traditional accounting, of just paying the tax office some money. And I think that's the great thing about your firm, is it really is about that whole business view.
And I think if you're accountants, doing your tax once a year and that kind of model, you're not getting good value, and it's only going to set you backwards. So have a look at, these new types of accounting practices and what the business advice and things you should also be getting.
It's really apples and oranges that you're comparing, someone who does your tax once a year versus, the service we offer, where, we're pretty much a business partner in terms of approaching everything from through the lens of numbers. It's so like a job satisfaction. I love helping people through that mindset shift of numbers are actually easy, and in just simple things like one of the easy ways you can improve your cash flow is just having a chat to your suppliers and seeing if they're open to 30-day terms or 60-day terms, which is people who work for builders as subbies, they're dictated to by the builder. Not that we want to dictate to suppliers, but have a chat, and they're usually open, especially if they're your only supplier.
I know I have a client who I'm working with as a mentor that's going through exactly that, and ironically a lot of their business comes via referral from a key supplier who is saying, hey, you're getting a bit behind with your bills. And they've sat down with the general manager and said, well, we understand that. We're working with these big contractors, like big end-of-town contractors, who have them on 30 days from end of month. So there's a cash gap there. And the suppliers have said, okay, well, based on that, we know you're good for it because we know they're going to pay their bills. It's just a timing issue. But here's some suggestions about invoice finance or factoring or whatever that might help you to bridge that cash flow gap a bit in the short term until you grow to the next level. So the supplier's been very helpful in that way, and giving them contacts even to, here, go speak to this banker or something. So they're actually working together instead of sticking their head in the sand and getting a nasty letter from that supplier saying you're overdue and we've put you on stop credit. And by then it's too late because the relationship's obviously soured.
Absolutely, no, that's a very good point. And I mean, from the experience that or feedback I've got from recommending similar things, is that they've been open to it. They'll even meet the marketing manager because they know that they're actually serious about working together. So, and they'll do all sorts of things depending on who the supplier is to, put your logo on the back of your shirt. They'll pay for the lot, all this sort of stuff. So.
Yep. So there's a couple of questions I'm dying to ask. So I've jumped in here, Michaela.
No, I'm having a drink. Go to the bar. Get my beer.
Yeah, let's wrap this up and get to the bar. But one question we like to ask Ben, and we often do it at the top of the show, but DIY, are you a bit of a DIY guy, or do you leave it to the professionals, mate?
I am column A, column B, so a bit of both. When it matters, I definitely don't touch it myself. But it's funny you asked the question. I was actually quite proud because I've never really been a DIYer before. Having a play around in this cafe, and some of my feats, which you can't actually see it at the moment, but the big sign that we put out the front every morning, it's a bit of timber whacked together with a DeWalt drill. And I am a DeWalt man.
Oh, there you go. Just polarise the audience. All the Metabo guys just tuned out.
That's it. But so I put that together. Got the glue out, and I don't know what they call the big plastic sheets and whacked on a sign. So I'm pretty impressed with myself.
Nice work, mate.
Well, I think we have to take a photo.
We'll have to get a picture of Ben's handiwork.
Yeah.
And put that on the page for this episode, mate.
That's it. There was a bit of an incident with the glue, though. I underestimated the amount that the thing expands, and I had glue all over the carpet, and I was like, Tarzan nail stuff.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Should maybe stick to accounting, mate.
I definitely think so.
So the last thing we like to ask our guests, if you had 1,000 tradies in a room, what would be the one piece of advice you'd like to give them?
Yeah, and definitely focus on everything that you do through the lens of your customer. And I said it earlier in the show that if you do that, if you focus on what matters to them, then your own price and profitability and your own well-being it will just happen. I think that's the biggest tip.
Great.
Good stuff.
Well, thanks for making numbers sexy again, I guess, is what you can say. And
beer. Did someone say beer?
Beer.
I'm sure he said beer. But yeah, thanks for coming on the show, Ben. Great to have you, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Thanks again for having me.
So lots in that interview with Ben Walker, and the extended edition for our members at tradiesbusinesstoolkit.com is about the 5 numbers that you need to know.
Yep. And there's a whole bunch of stuff you can track and measure in your business. But the reality of it is, Ben takes you through pretty much the critical 5 numbers that if you watch and measure and muck around with those ones, you really can make some massive changes to your business and put some more money in your bank account at the end of the month.
And surely that's worth more than $1, which is the joining fee for the Toolkit site. So
Well,
no
if you-
excuses. Head over now. Chop, chop.
You've been listening to the Tradies Business Show with Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark. Want to get off the tools and into true business ownership? Find out how at tradiesbusinessshow.com.